All right, so Kieran just did a town hall from the Illuvium Discord. They also posted it to YouTube, but that's about an hour long. I'm going to sum it up, recap it, in hopefully less than 5 minutes to save you some time. I kind of separated everything out into different sections here. So there's some updates on the arena, updates on the overworld, Illuvium Zero, and then there's just some other general updates, but some of those are actually pretty cool, so stick around for those. All right, so let's get into it. So for the arena, Kieran mentions that there's going to be a new Ascendant Arena game mode that allows you to make more drastic changes mid-battle. And he mentioned the idea behind this is that if you go in where your matchup is just horrible, where it would be an automatic loss, in this new game mode, there might be opportunities for you not to lose that battle. They're trying to get that out before open beta. There's a question asked about the Leviathan Arena, and Kieran mentioned that that's going to be more of what the arena that we're playing right now is going to look like, but obviously real alluvials on the blockchain. In this new mode is going to be basically the Ascendant Arena. All right, so were there any major tournaments in the first year for Illuvium? Even though they don't have a date locked down, the Team Liquid tournament, which is going to have about $146,000 in prizes, should be within the first year, but they still want some extra time for testing to make sure things are ready for these big tournaments. They want to utilize the ILV for esports rewards. So if you're not aware, about 1 million ILV is set aside for in-game rewards, and they're going to utilize that to boost up esports prizes and rewards. Kieran was asked about the format for Illuvium tournaments. He mentioned that there is no single style. They'll test a bunch of different things, but even after testing, he doesn't think that every tournament should have the same style. So one tournament might have some kind of round robin type deal. Another tournament might be like you bring in 3, ban 1, whatever it is, they're going to test out a bunch of different. All right, moving on to the overworld. So obviously, this is a big question. Kieran says he's been getting a lot of this, but he was asked kind of about Palworld and basically what the team is doing to, capitalize on that. Kieran mentions that Palworld is a net positive for Illuvium and that what it really proves is that a new monster collection game can be successful. So he said he's had some doubts before on whether people buy Pokemon games just because it's Pokemon or because if they like the style of game. But this is proof that the style of game can work outside of Pokemon. He also said the big hype around Palworld is, Pokemon with guns. People are having fun with that. The thing that Illuvium is bringing to the table is the blockchain and ownership of those alluvials. He also said the comparison for owning alluvials is not capturing Pokemon in their console games, is actually owning the Pokemon cards. Because as you know, alluvials are going to be NFTs in the blockchain. You're going to have real ownership of that. So he says that's really going to drive Illuvium and they're going to lay into that. He says they've been working on putting alluvials in the overworld to capture. He didn't mention if that's going to be live when open beta hits, but he did say that they're releasing alluvial hunting within the next few weeks. So I don't know if that's a new beta update that we're going to get, but we might be seeing these alluvials in the overworld sooner than we thought. And also with the idea of Palworld just coming up with something new that people are really enjoying. He said in 2024, one of the initiatives for all of the teams within Illuvium is just to come up with new innovative ideas, test them out. They may not all hit, but he wants to allow the team to be a little more creative with what they're building out. And lastly, for the overworld, he was asked the order of the unreleased regions when we're going to expect them. So we have 3 out right now in the private beta. He says the next to be complete is Taiga Boreal, then Halcyon Sea, and then Shard Bluff and Crystal Shores will be the last 2. All right, moving on to Illuvium Zero here. So he was asked straight up the expected ROI of a tier 1 land. Kieran says no one can really know. Obviously, I agree with that. You can't really know until we know how many players. He did mention that when they put the whole idea of land together and they had the land sale, they were hoping that it would be about a 12-month ROI. But he says in that first year, without knowing how many people are actually going to join the game, it could be anywhere between 1 year and 2 years to get an ROI on the land. He was asked about blueprints. He mentioned just like the alluvials, they're going to be on a bonding curve. So as time goes on, they're going to be harder and harder to find. The tier 5 land auction, as we know during the initial lands a while back, there's supposed to be 2 tier 5 lands sold. And he said they would like to have that done before open beta, but it isn't necessary. But hopefully we hear some more news on that soon. He was asked about expansions in Illuvium Zero. He said there are ideas in place. Those need to be pitched out to the councils and approved before they start working on anything. He asked if there's going to be rewards for Illuvium Zero. And this might come as a little disappointment to some, but he says no plans for rewards. He said the reward is really going to be optimizing your fuel. And to me, that makes complete sense. If you're playing the game well, you'll be able to make more return on the fuel that you generate. So personally, I think that's enough of a reward for Illuvium Zero. And then he gave one little leak kind of about the lore. And he says that Illuvium Zero does fall on the planet of Illuvium, but it falls outside of the regional domes. So again, that's just a little bit of the lore. You can read into that however you want. All right, last section here. These are kind of just some random hits real quick. He was asked about the runway. He said they should be solid for a year post open beta, even if they didn't have any revenue coming in. He said they could possibly look for another capital raise, but that's really only going to be done if necessary, and there's nothing in place right now for that. He's asked about Grant leaving. He mentioned that Grant left the team in a great place. Him leaving isn't going to make much of an impact. He said the one thing that they are going to miss is just the fact that he's a co-founder, he was there from the beginning, he had unique and creative ideas, and they might miss out a little bit on that. And so going off the idea of like runway and what the treasury has, Kieran mentioned that's not going to be a problem because the treasury is going to be earning ILV through Revdis. I'm assuming he's talking about there. And to my surprise, he actually mentioned that at some point, the treasury might be earning too much of this Revdis and that the community might want to put together a proposal and say that that should be distributed out to the stakers instead of going back to the treasury. He mentioned that the IMX passport is something that they're working on. We knew that already, but he said that it's not ready to go. And I'm unsure exactly how this works, but he did say we'd be able to link one additional wallet that would be a read-only wallet. And to start, that would just work with Illuvium Zero and Illuvials in the arena, not the overworld. I don't really know exactly what that means right now, but that's what he said. Last couple things, he said there's going to be a cinematic mode for replaying battles. And if you have a good enough editor or you're good enough at editing, you should be able to put together some content that is up to par with the most recent hype trailer that they put out. And lastly, he was asked about balancing and governance, and he just mentioned that governance v3 has been working well so far. But that's the video. Hope I saved you some time. Give a click to the link down below. It really helps me out in the creator program they have going on here, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.